Welcome. This is the final exam review for fall semester of developmental algebra. The final exam has 30 problems, 5 points each for a total of 150 points. There are 2 of each type of problem, so we'll cover 15 concepts. All of the questions are multiple choice and they have 3 choices to choose from. Remember, it is not the day to give up, it is the day to fight. Okay. Can we write equivalent statements to statements given? So looking at something like this, how could we recognize something that is equivalent to that? Easiest way is to simplify using PEMDAS. 49 divided by 7 is 7. 8 multiplied by 6 is 48. I know that this statement here is equivalent to 55. If we have options A, B, and C, we can simplify each of those options, and if they are equivalent to 55, it is an equivalent statement. There are a couple of other strategies, but this is one that you may use to determine the correct answer. Right. What makes this true? You can solve it for x, or you could plug and chug. I will solve for x by isolating x and dividing both sides by 3. X is equal to 4. If you're not confident in solving, you can choose an answer and plug it in. If it makes a true statement, it is a correct answer. Be able to simplify absolute value statements. What is the absolute value of -5? It is +5. We are going to subtract from it the absolute value of 2.3, which is 2.3. 5 minus 2.3 is 2.7. 9 less than the product of a number and 4 is 57. So we are translating this into math. Look for the is. That is our equal sign, 57. 9 less. You can write it either as -9. 9 less than the product of a number and 4. We are going to multiply 4 times a number, or you could write it 4x minus 9 is equal to 57. These are equivalent statements. Remember that minus or subtract is the same thing as addition of the opposite. All right, next problem. Give me an example of the associative property. Remember, the associative property is just associating with a new friend. So notice that the order has not changed any, only the grouping or the parentheses. Give me an example of the commutative property. That would be when something moves around in its community. Notice here that everybody has changed places. That is a dead giveaway. It's the commutative property. The distributive property is when grandma comes to visit and she gives a present to each grandkid. You're distributing the 2 to both members of the parentheses. Next problem, be able to solve a 2-step equation. We want to solve by getting all of our x's on one place, so I'm going to subtract 3x from this side, which gives us 4 minus 3x is 1x. Want to isolate the x all by itself? I can do that by adding 7 to both sides. X is equal to 9. You can test this for yourself by plugging 9 in to both locations where you find an x and seeing if it makes a true statement. All right, you'll be faced with something like this. You'll need to translate. We're told that the number of donuts D is equal to 4 less than half the number of cookies C. Half of the number of cookies, 1/2 times C minus 4. We have solved this for D. Be able to determine the intersection and union. Remember, the intersection is like the intersection of the street. The intersection is only where the 2 streets cross. What things do both sets have in common? Do they both have a 2? No. Do they both have a 3? Yes. The intersection noted by that includes 3. Do they both have a 5? Yes. Do they both have a 7? No. Both have a 9? No. The intersection is just the numbers 3 and 5. The union would be everything in both sets put together. Basically, you are smashing the two sets together. Leonard paid $3.56 for 4 donuts. What is the equation to calculate the unit cost C for each donut? What is the cost? We have $3.56 for 4 donuts. What would be the unit cost? $3.56 divided by 4. Be able to solve equations for different variables if presented with something such as this. Right now it's being solved for A. We are told to solve for Y. First step, let's distribute that 4x to both members of the parentheses after we change this to addition of the opposite. 4x multiplied by 3y plus 4x multiplied by a negative 2z is equal to A. Multiply this out. 4 times 3 is 12, x times y. 4 times negative 2 gives us negative 8, x times z gives us xz. We want to solve for y. Where's our y term? Let's move this first by adding 8xz to both sides. And we get 12xy is equal to A plus 8xz. We want y. How can we get it all by itself? By dividing by 12x. But what we do to one side, we have to do to everything on the other side. 8xz divided by 12x. The distance formula states that d is equal to the product of the rate times the time, or d equals rt. Given this problem, Sheldon ran at a constant rate, so we know we have rate, of 150 meters per minute. How many minutes did it take Sheldon to run 300 meters? That's the distance, 300 meters, and we want the time. We want time. Right now it's being solved for distance. How would we solve this for time? By isolating time all by itself. If we divide both sides by r, I should have rewritten this down here where we had more room. We have isolated t, or solved for t. T is equal to distance divided by the rate. Given the formula for the area of a triangle, be able to calculate the area, base, or height. You will be provided with this formula. Area is equal to 1/2 the base times the height. Right now it is solved for area. If you were given different variables, would you be able to solve for height, for example? You can do this by isolating h. How do we do that? First of all, let's get rid of the fraction by multiplying both sides by 2. 2 divided by 2 is equal to 1, and we have 2a over here on the other side. We want h by itself. How can we do that? Divide both sides by b. 2 times a divided by b is equal to the height. Evaluate the expression when a is equal to negative 2.9 and b is equal to negative 1.3. Be able to evaluate the expression of the opposite of the absolute value of a, subtract from that b. We need to plug and chug. A is equal to negative 2.9. Notice a is 2.9 and it is within absolute value bars, so I put negative 2.9 within those absolute value bars. Now I'm going to subtract b, and what is b? A negative 1.3. What's the absolute value of negative 2.9? Positive 2.9. Remember, absolute value is a distance. We have subtraction, which is the same thing as addition of the opposite. We end up actually adding 1.3. So negative 2.9 plus 1.3 is equal to a negative 1.6. Simplify. Be able to simplify expressions. Notice there's no equal sign. This is just an expression. You cannot solve it. You're just simplifying. What does that mean? Gather your terms, like terms together. So what have we got? We've got some x's. 4x plus 7x equals 11x. We've got a y. Notice, y is not the same thing as y squared. So we cannot add them together. They are two separate terms. So we've gotten our x's, we've gotten our y's. What are we left with? Negative 9 and negative 11. You might find this in a different order. Plus a negative 3y squared plus 2y plus a negative 11. These are equivalent statements. Last problem, be able to evaluate a system of equations. Right now you don't have the tools to solve this. We will be given or learn how to do that next semester. But we are provided with options A, B, C here. Note that the first term is your x value, the second term is your y. So for example, A, when they give you that negative 8, 6, it is the same thing as saying x is equal to negative 8 and y is equal to 6. If we are given this information, we can plug and chug and determine which of these makes a correct statement. Let's try A. Let's take the first one. We'll plug it in there. 2 times negative 8 minus 4 times, what's our y? 6 is equal to 20. 2 times negative 8 is negative 16. This is the same thing as minus 4 times 6 is negative 24. I got a bad feeling about this. There's no way I can combine those two numbers and get a positive 20. This cannot be the right answer. Let's see, x is equal to 6, y is equal to negative 8. Let's try that. 2 times 6 plus a minus 4 times negative 8. Is it equal to 20? 2 times 6 is 12. Negative 4 times negative 8 is a positive 32. 12 plus 32 does not equal 20. That one cannot be the correct answer. Let's try C. What it is saying with this is that x is equal to 6, y is equal to negative 2. We'll try that. 2 times 6 plus a minus 4 times negative 2. Does that equal 20? 2 times 6 is 12. Negative 4 times negative 2 is equal to a positive 8. 12 plus 8 is 20. 20 does indeed equal 20. Now notice there are two equations here. If there had been an option D, even though this equation was correct, we would need to check it and make sure that they were both correct. Since C is our last option and the only one to choose, C has to be the correct answer. But in the future, when you're dealing with systems, you need to make sure that the solution solves both equations. Good luck. We've gone over to something similar to everything you will see. If you have any questions, please send me a K-mail or stop by live